Well, let's get started. Anyone give any thought to this squirrel? Who knows what this squirrel represents?
Represents me.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I just said so.
Oh, did you?
Attention deficit disorder.
Yep, that's the squirrels. You know, and here's the problem. It was interesting as we were listening to you give your introductions this morning, sharing some of your experiences. I definitely heard some squirrels. You see, that's one of the problems that happens when it comes to online marketing. We find the squirrel, and then we find the squirrel. It distracts us. We head down this path of the squirrel, and it didn't quite work as planned. So what do we do next? We find another squirrel. And then we head down that path. And then once you head down that path, unless you make changes, there will be another squirrel and another squirrel and another squirrel. It just doesn't end. Who's been there? I know a few of you have. Most people have been there.
Get in my brain.
Yeah.
Is it the size of a squirrel?
It's the size of the squirrel. So here, I'm going to share a story with you. And I'm going to share a story with one of our longest clients. It's actually a collision center here in Las Vegas. And it's a great story because this was a person that was involved with squirrels. He was doing this squirrel marketing. So when we started our company in 2010, this company, New Look Collision, started with us in 2011 and went from a single location collision center to 5. Went from a company that was doing a couple of $1 million a year that's now doing $20 million a year. And if you speak to him, he attributes a lot of that growth to what we've been doing in terms of getting customers into the door. Now, he has to do his part. He has to provide the customer service and do the right work, but we've introduced his collision center to a lot more people. Does that make sense there? And it's because we got away from squirrels. We followed the plan, we stuck with the plan, we ran the plan, and things have been great and growing ever since. Just opened his first location in Arizona and about to open, he just bought land to open another location in Arizona for 6 locations. So that one's in construction now. So just tremendous growth, tremendous customer service. So those are some things, just a story I wanted to share with you. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My real name is Stormy Daniels. Excuse me. Stormy. I get confused sometimes, but it's Stormy Sylvester Andrews. So think about that for just a second. I'm a product of the 60s, and my parents named me Stormy. Then they said, we're going to give him a middle name of Sylvester, followed by my last name of Andrews. So some of you may have just realized something I've had to live with my entire life, that my son, who's a physics major, brought up to my attention. He's like, Dad, did you know your name is ass backwards? That's what I had to live with. So there's my attempt at humor. So a little bit about myself. It's kind of cool. I was involved in an anthology that I got to co-author with some pretty cool people, Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield. And my section was on effective communication techniques. Why is that important? You see, that's what I bring to the table here at Yokel Local. It's my goal to get you to think about your online presence as an employee. Would you hire an employee to be your salesperson that's a poor communicator? Would you? Would you hire an employee to be your #1 customer service representative and has poor listening skills, poor communication skills? We wouldn't do it. But yet we do that all the time when it comes to our digital footprint. You see all the time, oftentimes with businesses, they throw their message on their website thinking about what's important to themselves, not thinking about what's important to their customers, and then they run with it. And then wonder why it's not working. So that's what we're going to talk about. This is the thing that I bring to the table. You know what, and I'm not sure for just a second, did Deborah explain the importance of those 2 sheets?
Yes.
We did, okay, perfect. Because I'm going to quiz you on those later. Another thing, besides the book, I was also featured in a DVD called Better the Tailor, the Better the Fit. That was a video that was shot at Indiana Purdue University that I gave to the graduating a management class on effective communication techniques. And they consider it to be one of the best presentations they have. But once again, that's speaking one-on-one. As the world started going digital, I'm like, how can we get our websites to communicate like they should? Like your best salespeople, like your best customer service reps. And that's what we're going to talk about, and that's what we're going to dive into. As a matter of fact, some of the cool things that have happened with Yokel Local lately, in April of 2018, there was a book called Inbound Organization that was released. And it's a book for the marketing gurus that are out there. And there's actually an entire chapter dedicated to Yokel Local's strange trip to becoming a HubSpot agency partner. And it's a pretty cool read. We actually have a copy of it here. So here's my goal today. Not just my goal, our team's goal. If you think your online marketing looks like this guy right here, we're going to give you the tools to help you make your marketing look like this. Fair enough? Now, it's just like the gym. If you join the gym and you don't use the tools that they have in the gym, you won't get there. They're there, but you got to use them. Fair enough? Is that a fair statement? That's what we're going to talk about. Now, for some of you, if you feel your marketing already looks like this guy right here, well, then our goal is to help you take it to this level. Superhero status. Those are the tools that we want to give you. So if you're at the, wherever you're at, we want to give you the tools to take it to the next level. The cool thing about that is what we've been able to do for some of our clients over the years is that, using these techniques, some of our clients actually see us as like this James Bond character, their secret weapon, which has been pretty cool, but it's a problem with some of our clients. Like I'm going to use Michael, the collision center, as an example. He wouldn't tell anyone. They're like, hey, Michael, how are you doing this in terms of, this is the owner of the collision, how would you do this in terms of marketing? He's like, I'm not telling you. And then he got to the point to where I'm like, Michael, you've got to, help us out, show some love. So we actually had to sign an agreement with this individual that we wouldn't take on any additional collision centers in the state of Nevada, in the state of Arizona, in order for him to become a referral source for us. So that's one of the things we run into. People want to think of us as their James Bond. There's abundance. If you're doing things right, there's plenty of people. So that's one of the things that we have to do. So here's some of the things I want to share with you that people involved in digital marketing are faced with every day. Richard, these are some of the things that you kind of alluded to, some of the things that you alluded to. So when it comes to digital marketing, would you say these are some of the struggles that we're faced with, the continuously changing digital landscape? Is that a fair statement? Is it changing? I mean, it's changing fast, isn't it? It's quick. It changes. We used to say that it changes daily. Well, now that these, companies like Google and Facebook, they've gone to this artificial intelligence to make changes, it's changing multiple times per second. That's why we have so many people on our team, because we have to have people that are specialists in different areas so we can execute what needs to be executed. The days of just one person knowing everything, it's a unicorn, that person doesn't exist. Make sense there? So that's what we're going to share with you. Other things, more conversions. We're always concerned about how do I get more conversions on my website? Those are some of the struggles. It doesn't matter if you're getting 1 million people to your website if no one's converting. You mentioned if you get one conversion from this, you're happy. Actually, one customer, which is different than a conversion. If you get a customer, you're happy. But you need conversions in order to get customers. Fair enough? So we're going to dive into that. The other thing is MQLs versus SQLs. Who's familiar with that term? Besides you. So let's talk about MQLs versus SQLs. We have to have, what's the definition of an MQL, which is a marketing qualified lead? What's the definition of an SQL, which is a sales qualified lead? You see, here's what happens when it comes to online marketing. Sometimes things aren't clicking. They're just not working the way you expected them to work. So management starts making decisions. Hey, this stuff isn't working. So they go to the sales team. The sales team says, you know what? Our marketing, you're sending us all these crappy leads. They're horrible. They're not effective. We go to the marketing department. The marketing department says, listen, we're getting all these leads to the sales department, but they just can't close. Well, there's a disconnect because there's never been a definition of what constitutes a marketing qualified lead. What's the definition of a sales qualified lead? You see, bridging that gap is extremely important, because then once that gap is bridged, and only after that gap is bridged, can you determine, do we have a marketing problem versus a sales problem? Make sense? And we've seen it all too many times where someone has a marketing problem, but they go rearrange the sales. Or they have a sales problem and they go focus on the marketing problem, and they just compounded the problem. Does that make sense there? So you have to determine when it comes to your website, when using the tools that we're going to share with you, a lot of these tools being free tools, what constitutes a marketing qualified lead? What constitutes a sales qualified lead? You follow me? And the other thing is all these squirrels, because there's going to be more squirrels that pop up every day. A few years ago, the squirrels used to be far and few in between. Now there's a new squirrel every other day. I'm warning you, don't get caught up in the squirrels, because it's going to take your eye off the ball. It does each and every time. And if you do get involved with the squirrels, here's what happens. You start taking this tactical approach to marketing, which is no better than buying a lottery ticket. You may get the right ticket and you might scratch off the right one and you're a winner, but I'm not putting my future based on a lottery ticket. And unfortunately, when it comes to business, all too often, that's exactly what people do. Why do they do that? Because they don't understand. They don't know what to do. So it's like, let me do this. I don't know what to do. Let me do that. And we're going to change that today. You're just throwing money down the drain when you continue down that, and it's a recurring cycle. So here's our goal today. Our goal is to bridge the gap between strategy and tactics. As a matter of fact, if you look at this quote here, it's something we live by. It's the same quote that's here on the wall. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And this is rung true for Sun Tzu, The Art of War, thousands of years. I should find out when he put that together. So we're going to talk about buyer personas. So the section that we're going to be involved today, it is the foundation of everything you do. Who here has ever developed a buyer persona? One, two. So kinda. Well, here's what you're going to find out. The buyer personas we're going to work on today, that we're going to build, it's unlike any buyer persona you've ever built. The reason I know that is because it's our own proprietary process. It takes the best from a lot of different modalities and trainings, and it brings it together in our own. And when we go through this process, I think it's going to change the way you think about marketing moving forward. There's usually a ton of aha moments, and we're going to dive into it pretty shortly, and we're going to spend lots of time on it because I want to make sure we get it right. But what happens when it comes to your buyer personas, this isn't something that you do once and you stop. This is an ongoing process. I'm teaching you how to build your buyer personas. As a matter of fact, companies come in, they consult with us and say, hey, I want you to build a buyer persona for me. We charge thousands of dollars for it. I'm teaching you how to do it yourself. It is that important. It's the foundation. It's the foundation of what you do. So how do we get the right message to the right person at the right time all the time? You guys want to know how to do that? Do you want to know how to do that? Is that a strong statement? Is that a bold statement? You're like, come on, Stormy.
Right person to a person.
Yeah. A person. So, I mean, this is a really, really bold statement. And I'm going to ask you to challenge me. When we finish the buyer personas, I'm going to ask you, do you think this tool, what I'm teaching you how to do, if it's going to help you get the right message to the right person at the right time all the time? Fair enough? I'm making a very, very bold claim here. And that's what we're going to dive into. So in order to do that, you must understand this first. You got to understand this first. Who's your ideal client? What do they look like? What do they do? Is this your ideal client? Is that person your ideal client? All too often, people start this marketing stuff having no idea who their ideal client is, or they have this misconception that everyone is my ideal client. My product's for everyone on the planet. Well, I'm sorry to tell you it's not. And because of that mentality, when people start thinking that way, they start creating messaging for everyone. And they get the desired response from no one, and they're wondering why. Can you relate? That's exactly what happens. So who's your ideal client? Without this, winning online is going to be extremely difficult. And that's why we're going to spend so much time on the buyer personas. We got to know what's their background, what's their demographics, what are their core functions, what do they do, what kind of common questions are they asking when they're online as it relates to your goods and services. So did you know this? I'm going to share a statistic with you. Approximately 96% of the visitors to your website aren't ready to buy yet. Think about that for a second. Some of you are saying, are you kidding me? 96% of the people, why am I spending all this money on my website to get 96% of the people not ready to buy yet? Makes no sense. Let me throw my hands up. Why? Well, because here's why. Today's consumers are doing a lot of research online. Think about yourself. When you go to a website, when you experience a pain or a problem and you're looking for a solution, do you just dive right in the first website you come across? Let me buy that. Let me move forward with this financial advice. Let me use that sales trainer. Let me go with this realtor. No, you've got problems. You've got issues. You've got concerns that you need to be resolved or need to get resolved before you're ready to pull the trigger and speak to someone. That's where the 96%. Think about your own behavior. Consumers are now in control of the sales process when it comes to online. Because guess what? They're doing a lot of research without you being involved. You know, back in the day, they used to have to speak to a salesperson to get the information. Now they can get a lot of the information before they speak with the salesperson. We need to train your digital employee. And by the way, I'm going to refer to this digital employee. And the digital employee is your online presence. In a nutshell, what do we do at Yokel Local? People hire us to be a manager, trainer of that digital employee. That's what it comes down to. They hold us responsible for the results that that digital employee delivers. That's what we do. It's pretty easy. We're just a manager. We do the training, we manage it. But it's our goal to train and work with each and every one of you today so you can be the manager. So if you're working with, like Dr. McGee, you mentioned that you have these companies that are doing all this stuff for you. How can you hold them accountable if you don't know what they're supposed to be doing? It's difficult to even know the questions to ask. You see, there was a Harvard Business Review study done a few years back, and they asked CEOs, listen, if you have a problem with sales, what do? CEO says, I roll up my sleeves, I get involved, and I get this sales things fixed. If you have a problem with production, what do? I roll up my sleeves, I get involved, and I get this production stuff fixed. If you have a problem with your online marketing, what do? Well, I don't do anything with my sleeves. I call my IT guy and I say, get that thing fixed because I don't know what's supposed to happen there. That's what happens. And guess what? They're calling the IT guy. They think he knows marketing because he knows computers. He knows nothing about marketing. So now what he does is he says, oh, shoots, I'm tasked with this. Let me go hire some marketing company and tell them what to do because I don't know what they're supposed to do. And then it's just this hope and pray. They may get the right company, they may not, but they don't know how to hold them accountable. They get these numbers and these reports that they don't even know how to read. And they're like, hey, I hope this is some good stuff because that's what I'm running with. Make sense there? So what would it mean to your business if, think about this for a second, what would it mean to your business if you connected with potential customers earlier in the decision-making process? Would that be beneficial to you?
I
Right?
think the key word is connected.
Absolutely. And
Just be exposed to.
it's connecting, exactly. And you can't do that without a good buyer persona. It's hard. I mean, you can, but it's more difficult. So what if you connected with your ideal client before the competition even know they existed? What would that do to your business? If you had a strategy in place that allowed you to do that, what would that do for your business? What if you eliminated price from being the main driver in the equation? Would that do something to your business? Absolutely. So remember when Amanda was in here earlier, she talked about this, the awareness, consideration, decision stage. Do you remember that? Let me tell you why this is important. Because the online consumer behavior, this becomes an important component. And by the way, on my slides here, I have a little circle here. If it's a page that you wanted to tie into, I've got a little circle with a number. You can go there if you wanted to see, okay, what page is he on and what is he talking about?
Does it correlate to this book?
It correlates to the book. And you don't have to be sure. Now we're on page 12. This is just kind of the area. It may not be exactly the same, but inside the book is where we give you additional information in regards to the topic that I'm talking on. I'm not reading from the book, so it's not going to be a regurgitation like you're reading the book and like this is exactly what Stormy said. No, we figure you can do that on your own. I'm going to give you information that supplements the information in the book, right? Kind of like your best college professors, because you've had the ones that are just reading from the book. So that's no bueno. So awareness stage, consideration, decision stage. Let me share with you why Amanda brought this up and why it's so important to understand this. Because it's going to change the way you think about marketing. It's going to change the way you think about creating buyer personas. Remember 96% of the people aren't ready to do business yet? That's because 96% of the people here, they're in the awareness stage, they're in the consideration stage. They're not in the decision stage. They're looking for solutions to their potential problems. Make sense? We've all been there. Which means, help me on the math here, that leaves what percentage of people in the decision stage? 4, look at that. I wish I had prizes because I struggle here. So 4% on the decision stage. So here's the disconnect. The disconnect is this. Your competitors, I see this universally across the board when I look at from one website, one digital presence to the next. All the competitors, when we look at the content on the website, it's all written for that person in the decision stage. It's written for the people that are ready to do business today. They're forgetting about these people up here. Kind of rude. And it doesn't make much sense. Because you're spending this money, guess what? It costs you the same dollar to get this person to your website as it takes this person to get to your website. But we're just saying, listen, because of my own selfish behaviors, I just want the people ready to do business today. So, I just want the people who are doing business today. And so I'm going to create my website just to talk to those people. I don't want to help people along their buyer's journey. I'm not into that. You get the journey, and when you're ready to spend money, then you come see me. You can do that. But here's the cool thing. This is the really, really cool thing. That's the area where your competitors are. If we can get up here in the process, if we can become a resource, oh my gosh, does it change things? Does that make sense there? So your greatest opportunity is here. Your greatest struggle is here. And I'm not saying discount this. I'm just saying supplement what you got going on, so we're addressing the people up here. You follow me? Is it making sense? Are you with me? I hear like one person's with me. No one else is with me. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let me share a scenario with you. I'm going to use Sarah. Sarah's a good friend of mine. We go way back. From the time I found this image and stuck it on here, and her little baby, we've been best friends. So we're going to talk about Sarah for just a second because Sarah's got a huge problem, and tell me if you can relate. And the problem that she has, I'm sure each and every one of us have been able to relate with, which is why I like this particular scenario. Sarah's got a problem. She's got an old car that keeps breaking down. Let me tell you about my car. My first car was a 1983 Vet. Chevy Chevette. If you remember those. Remember the Chevy Chevettes? Yeah, it was too bad. I had this old car that kept breaking down, right? That's what I had going on. Who has had that car that kept breaking down? Okay, so two of us, I mean, we can relate. So here's the scenario. Sarah's got a problem. What's her problem? Car's breaking down, right? So I know one person's listening. Car keeps breaking down. So Sarah has to make some decisions. Fair statement. She can get her car fixed. She can get a new car. But what will drive the decisions that Sarah makes? Logic or emotions? What's going to drive her decisions? Her car keeps breaking down. Is it logic or emotions? 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 So
She justify that decision with some logic later.
you hit the nail right on the head, because guess what? Statistically speaking, when it comes to making decisions, 80% of our decisions are based on emotions, 20% based on logic. So let me ask you a question. I'm like Zach here. Here's my buddy Zach. Why, oh why, oh why are the content written on websites speaking to logic? For instance, let's use real estate. Come see me. I haven't looked at your website, but I was going to use the example of loans, but look at your content on your website. Your website. Are we speaking to logic? Or are we speaking to emotions? You see, and here's the problem. It's tough to speak to emotions if you don't know what emotions they're experiencing. That's where this buyer persona process comes in. Does that make sense? We're going to dive into that. I'm going to show you how to get into the mindset, how to speak to emotions. It's going to change the way you do it. So, and here's the other cool part. If you look at your competitors, they're speaking to logic, and people don't make decisions based on logic. You hit the nail right on the head. I might think I'm making a logical decision. I'm just justifying whatever decision I've made with emotions. The only person that you've ever seen in history that I'm aware of that makes all their decisions based on logic is Spock. So unless you're Spock from Star Trek.
He's half human.
Yeah, but his decisions are logic, but no one else. So unless you're Spock, you're making your decisions based on emotion. And guess what? If you had Spock, would you want Spock as a client? Probably not. So I would make my content based on emotions also. So what drives most of the marketing? Why does most marketing speak to the problem? Typical marketing solution for Sarah is something like this. Old car keeps breaking down. She sees an ad that says, buy a new car. Have you seen them? Buy a new car. Low monthly payments. Huge selection of new cars. Have you seen them? Absolutely. That's the marketing message. So let's talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs for a second. Some of you may be familiar with it. Some of you aren't, but I'm just going to dive into it a little bit. So Maslow's, something that's accepted when it comes to 80%, that the vast majority of our decisions are based on emotions. And there's actually this hierarchy of needs that came up with a famous psychologist named Abraham Maslow. So when it comes to making decisions, the first decisions that we tend to make on this pyramid here are our physiological needs. That's the stuff that keeps us alive. Air, water, food, shelter, all those things. Once these needs are met, and only after these needs are met, do we start considering our safety needs. We got to stay alive first, then we're concerned about safety needs. Personal security, job security, employment, keeping my family safe, those types of things. Once these are taken care of, then we start thinking about love and belonging. That's our tribes. We all want to be part of a tribe, our family, and all those other things. Then we're concerned about esteem, self-respect, looking good in front of our peers, and then self-actualization. You see, it's hard to be concerned about esteem if you don't have your physiological needs met. Does that make sense there? It's very difficult. It's hard to think about self-actualization if you don't have your self-safety needs met. Does that make sense there? So we think about that when it comes to marketing. We think about that when it comes to your messaging, and that's what we're going to dive into. So let's go into Sarah really quick. Her problem, her old car keeps breaking down, right? So her old car keeps breaking down probably leads to what eternal feelings on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Absolutely. So embarrassment, could that be an emotion? So it's embarrassment. That could be esteem. It could be. What about fear of being stuck on the side of the road? This is exactly where you're referring to, Dr. McGee. We got a baby there. We're concerned about safety. What about getting fired, not getting to work and getting fired? We might be on physiological needs. Does that make sense there? So which message is going to be more effective when we're talking to someone like Sarah? Low monthly payments, huge selection of new cars, buy a new car, versus stop the embarrassment. Take care of your family. We can create messaging that's speaking to her emotions. Does that make sense there? From that perspective, especially in your world, financial services. you're really dealing with, a lot of these things there. If you're not doing that, here's what happens. What's this called when you see that on the TV?
They
Static.
don't want to hear how we choose securities and
Is that crazy?
and CFA stuff. They want to hear about that.
Insane.
And economics.
I'm with you. It's
Oh,
crazy.
shit.
Exactly. That's what we have to go through. It's static. So here's what happens. If you're not speaking to their emotions, you're just more static. You're just noise. So let's eliminate that. There's also some things the way our brain processes information, because here's the problem. At any given moment, this according to the field of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, at any given moment, there's 2 million bits of data that are bombarding your senses. 2 million bits. But the problem is our brain can only process 7 plus or minus 2. A lot of stuff goes undone. We have a complete write-up inside of there that goes really deep into this. Once you get to page 18, it goes really deep into this. But what you need to know from now, there's 2 million bits of data available to my brain. My brain can only process 7, which means our message needs to connect. Otherwise, it's that lottery approach. So who are you working with today? We're going to talk about that. Who are you working with today? So I want you to go to page 21 in your book. I want you to list out 3 types of clients you're working with today. So here's what I mean by that. The type of customer you're working with, we're going to rate them in terms of profitability, desirability, and typical sales cycle. So for instance, who do you work with today? Are you working with business owners, event planners, casino executive, general contractors, office managers, first-time home buyers, home buyers that are upgrading, downgrading, people that already have financial solutions in place? So I want you to list 3 of them for this exercise. So list 3 people, just go right down the list. Don't worry about going across. We're just going to go vertically down the page. List 3 types of people that you're working with today. And if you don't have 3, I only have 1 type of person, but buyers, sellers, upsizing, downsizing, people looking to change their investment strategy. Age, not really age, because I work with 35-year-olds.
Well, I was thinking like,
Or retired, new first-time buyers versus,
buying like a
people moving in-state, out-of-state.
age-restricted community.
Luxury buyer,
versus,
yeah.
like,
So once you have those 3, I want to continue. We're going to go to the next column. So the next column that I want you to think of in terms of profitability, rate that person, rate each of those people on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of profitability. Profitability doesn't mean desirability.
1 low, 10 high.
1 low, 10 high, absolutely. And then the next column is I want you to rate them in terms of desirability. You see, sometimes our most profitable customers aren't necessarily our most desirable. Can you relate? Because oftentimes that profitability might be an illusion.
or it's a year and a half down the road.
Exactly, a year and a half down the road, or they're taking, you're making twice as much commission, but you're spending 10 times as much energy. Is that profitable? But so terms and desirability. And then what I want you to do is just put typical sales cycle. Hey, when I work with this type of client, from the first time they decide to go with my types of goods and services to the time they make the decision, that sales cycle is a 6-month sales cycle, a 3-month sales cycle. So, and this doesn't have to be exact. I'm teaching you the process. Once you learn the process, you're going to have the ability of repeating this exercise over and over. I could have had you did this exercise on a computer, but there's also studies that suggest that if you write it down, you're going to retain this exercise. You're going to retain how to do this with greater clarity. Does that make sense? That's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So you guys ready to move on?
Is there any way to kind of decipher which direction we should go?
Yes. It's going to be very, very difficult. Because here's the scientific formula. Pick one. You're going to pick one, yeah. It's one, I'm teaching you how to do the process, but one, like let's say if there was a law that passed tomorrow and they said, you know what, you can only work with this type of customer and that type of customer only for now on. The law just passed. I didn't make the law, Shauna. They did it. Which one would you pick? If you couldn't work with any other person, what would you? So there you go. There's the process. You're going to pick one.
And keep in mind, you can always do the buyer persona development exercise for the others later. You can have multiple buyer personas. We're just doing one today.
Right. And I'm here to tell you, it's not you can, you will have multiple buyer personas. But we're teaching you how to do the exercise. You absolutely will have multiple buyer personas. So did everyone pick one? Shauna, you picked one?
I did.
Who'd you pick?
I picked the people who need to sell in order to buy next.
Okay. Dr. McGee?
I actually put down my ideal customer by name, so they're basically in the agribusiness.
Okay.
Nathan Bender, he's the COO of the company.
That's perfect. Ryan?
Lawyers.
Lawyers? Okay, perfect.
It's amazing everything I go, I end up with retired females
Okay.
who are, that's where they get to. They all have half a million or more.
Okay.
Some are a bigger pain than others.
Okay.
So some are very successful, and usually that means they don't need a lot of attention.
Got it.
Versus people who have all of a sudden come into something and don't quite understand it.
No.
Or what to do.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm just going to speak to Richard right now. Where's everyone else in the room? What we're about to go through is about to blow your mind. Fair enough?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want you to hold me to it. So here's what we're going to dive into. We're going to get away from this WIIFM. You familiar with WIIFM? What's in it for me? You know what I mean? That's an important radio station. I mean, here's something you have to understand. That's the radio station your customers are listening to, right? They're listening to a broadcast at all times. They're listening to WIIFM. So you need to broadcast on that station. Here's the problem. Usually, we're broadcasting on a frequency that's slightly off. It's called WIIFU. Now, what that stands for is what's in it for you. You're thinking about yourself instead of thinking about them, right? So this buyer persona is all about getting us in alignment to what's in it for them. And this exercise here in your book, we're not going to dive into it today, but it's in your workbook so you can do it later. But it's the so what versus me too statements. So one of the things you have to determine, because we can spend a day on this particular topic, but there's something called positioning factors. What sets you apart? What makes you special? Now, I'm going to use the example. Shauna, can I use you for this example? Because you know we've had a lot of realtors come through this type of training, right? So we're like, what sets you apart? What makes you special? Well, I've had some realtors say, well, guess what? When anyone, and they say it proudly, when anyone calls my phone, I answer it. So I ask, do other realtors not answer their phone? They don't, but do they say, I advertise that when you call me, I don't answer my phone? Is that the message they put out there? Yeah, I hope not exactly. So guess what? That would be what I would call a so what statement. So what? They would say something like, I work, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years. So what? Because it's about you. So this positioning factors is something you're going to have to spend time on. What sets you apart from your competitors? Let me give you some of the examples that we have that I'm going to go through in mine because it takes time. Here's some of ours. We were the first HubSpot Gold agency partner in Nevada. No one else can say that. Now, that doesn't mean anything to a lot of people. It only means something to people who know what HubSpot is. Fair enough? We also get to say that we're a Forbes Agency Council member, and I'm a frequent contributor to Forbes. To some people, that means a lot because it adds credibility. You know, the thought process there is Forbes trusts me to speak to their customers. You should probably trust me too. I've got some good stuff. The other thing is we were the member of the year for the American Marketers Association last year. Kind of a big deal considering we're in the field of marketing. Other things that we have that sets us apart, we're a member of the UNLV President's Corporate Council. We're involved with the community. That's important to me. And we're sponsors of the Yokel Local Scholarship for Southwest Career Technical Academy. That's the school I was talking about, the Apple Distinguished School. And all full-time employees attend a leadership from Rapport Leadership International, and that's something that's important to people who have attended Rapport Leadership. It's the way we invest into our clients. These are some of our positioning factors that mean something to someone. It doesn't mean anything to everyone, but each one of these have a specific persona that these positioning factors would be important to. Does that make sense there? So I want you to think about yours. And then when you think about yours, is it a so what positioning factor, or is it something that you would say right on? No one else can say that. Or very few people can say that. if you have a certain credential set that only 5% of the people in your industry have, that would probably be a right-on statement because everyone say it. But if you say something like, hey, we're open 24 hours, I would ask, are your other people open 24 hours? If the answer is yes, so what? What sets you apart? We can spend lots of time on that, but we're not going to dive into that right now. Does that make sense? But it's important that you identify this. What sets you apart? So we're going to dive into this on page 22, and this is pretty exciting. This is where we're going to start building out our buyer persona using our Yokology Empathy Roadmap. I'm going to give you an example of what we're going to go through here, and then we're going to do it together. Fair enough? So each of you have your persona, right? I want you to give your persona a name. Make it a fun name. So you mentioned one of your customers. What was your customer's name?
Nathan.
Nathan. So maybe, and what business is he in?
Agra.
Agra. So, you can go with Agra Al. I would.
So the industry could be my mental anchor, and then just stick a first person name next to it. So Finance Frank, Agra Al.
Yeah, absolutely. Home buyer Harry. Francis. Francis Financing, or something. It's an anchor. This is a fun name, and here's why this is important. Because once you have these buyer personas down, and you have people that are working with you. Now what happens is if they have a copy of this, I don't care if you're doing radio advertising, TV advertising, any kind of advertising, you have employees. You said did you mention you want to build a team of agents? You want to build a team of agents? You're like, hey, listen, we're going after homebuyer Harry. You know what I mean? Or whatever. They know exactly who you're referring to. So come up with a fun name.
Richly retired.
Perfect. Richly retired. So we got it? Let me show you the persona we got. Anyone want to take a guess? Amanda gave you a hint. Look at that there. We're going to do one on Wile E. Coyote. There's one of our personas. So here's what I want you to do here in this first part, because this is the easy part. You got a persona name. How old is your persona? Our Wile E. Coyote is 35 in dog years. But let's give an average name or an age. How old is your persona? This is just one of the things that just help us get clarity. This way, if you're speaking to someone, it kind of gives them clarity of the age range that your ideal persona is at. What do they make? Wile E. Coyote needs to make 65 grand a year. We've actually done the calculations. It's scientifically completed. I mean, it was a scientific formula to figure out how much all the stuff he buys from Acme Corporation and how much he needed to make to afford it.
We don't know how he makes it,
But he does.
So mine is like a $200 million company.
So
And I'm finding that my clients typically, their company generates between X and Y income. Is that the range I want to put for income? So I'm targeting towards that industry? Or am I actually a human being buying me at that company?
the human being who's making the decision at that company. So not the company. So is it the CEO that makes that is usually researching or searching out, or is it a VP of?
It's a C-suite person, so each of mine are C-suite. This one here specifically, the COO, the other two are CEOs.
Okay. So if they're C-suite, where we're probably looking at someone making a six-figure income. So we're looking at the income of that person. You see, this helps us communicate to that person. You see, because it's not the corporation that's searching you out, it's Nathan. It's that person who's searching you out. That's the person we need to connect with because he has his own emotional issues that we need to address to make sure he makes the right decision. Does that make sense? What's their job title? Ours happens to be a carnivorous predator. But what's the job title of your persona? Let's give them a job title. So in yours, it could be, your typical person, hey, they're a dealer at a casino. They are, an executive. But this just kind of helps figure out the demographics of where your person's at. And we're not saying that when you start creating your message, it attracts this person and this person only, or you're writing a message so specific that it's only attracting casino dealers, but it's going to relate with people that would be similar to this person, people that would be part of the same tribe as this person. You follow me? So the next thing is when it comes to your person, what situation are they looking to get resolved? Here's ours. It's pretty simple. And remember, here's the reason why we use cartoon character, because it's not complicated. It's really easy. Oftentimes people like to overthink this. What is Wile E. Coyote? What does he want to get resolved? What's the situation? He's hungry. He's not fast enough to chase the roadrunner. It's simple. What situation are they looking to get resolved? We need to understand that. They've got a situation. What is it? Let's identify it. And remember, it's all about simplistic stuff here. Does that make sense? Would you say it's a fair statement? Everyone's got a situation they want to get resolved. Then the next thing is, what situation they want resolved? What do they want? So in our case, remember, Wile E. Coyote is hungry. He's not fast enough to chase the road runner. What does he want in basic terms? An easy way to catch the road runner. Right? Pretty easy. So for instance, if we take your person richly retired, what do they want?
Peace of mind.
There you go. That's what they want. You know what I mean? It's basic. We get too complicated. Going back to what you said earlier, they don't want to know that the internal the internal workings of a 1031 tax deferred exchange tied into the fact that you have a Series 7 that you can do and make. I just want peace of mind. They don't want none of that crap. But when we go to our websites, we're just talking all that crap. Oftentimes, who cares? So we got down what they want, right? So let's continue from there. Oh, I'm sorry. What problems has this situation caused? What problems has this situation caused? Remember, what situation needs to be resolved? What problems has this caused? So for Wile E. Coyote, let me tell you the situations this caused. It's caused some stomach pain. It's caused some fatigue, injury, and desperation. But in your person, your persona, what problems has this situation caused? So the situation that needs to be resolved, what problems has this caused? Anybody want to share? First of all, I would want you to share what situation needs to be resolved. Then I want you to share with me some problems that this situation has caused. Anyone?
So mine is too much on too few.
What do you mean by too much on too few?
Too much work, responsibility, actions on too few people's plates, emotions, frustration, exhaustion, burnout.
Oh, you're way ahead of me. You got to slow down a little bit. So up here in number 5, it's too few people to do too much stuff.
On 5, I have talent development, leadership, and needs.
So they want talent development and one more time.
The leadership band. The leadership band, so whoever's in leadership position,
Oh.
there's not enough people there with the competencies to do the job.
Gotcha. So what do they want?
They want to be able to let go and develop leadership people.
And so what problems has this caused?
Stress, too much work on too few people, frustration, and lack of growth.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else want to share? So now, if we know the problems that this has caused, these problems lead to what emotions? Anger, frustration, stress. What emotions does it lead to? They feel inadequate in their position. What emotions? So just put down a couple of emotions. These problems lead to what emotions? And remember, we just want to do the top half here. So for Wile E. Coyote, this stomach pain, this fatigue, this injury, this desperation leads to frustration and anger. You guys know what anger is? Anger is a result of hunger. That's what it leads to. So these problems lead to what emotions? Now that you have your emotion, what emotion on Maslow's hierarchy of needs does that emotion relate to? And if you're confused, shoot it out. We can all share and help out. Ryan, what'd you have? What was your share with us? What was your situation that needs to be resolved?
The situation needs to be resolved, and he needs more clients and more online exposure.
So
He's a lawyer. His name is
Larry Lawyer. So the situation that needs to be resolved is what again? He needs more
He
clients?
needs more clients and more online exposure.
So what does he want?
He wants more clients.
Oh.
He needs to find out what he needs to do to get more clients.
So does he want more clients? Does he want more income?
Well, more clients.
More income? Maybe he wants to grow. So those things. So
He wants to grow.
So what problems has this situation caused for the lawyer?
Stress, failure, frustration, desperation.
Desperation. These problems lead to what emotions?
Unworthy, anger.
So what emotion would that be on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Esteem. Ooh, lawyers with esteem? Same guys who put their pictures on the billboards?
So many lawyers here.
I never would have guessed.
Matt BQ's taking it all.
I never would have guessed. Lawyers have esteem issues. with their colleagues. Huh, interesting. So what emotions, we got that there. Everyone's good so far? Is this making sense? It's gonna make more sense as we continue.
I'm finding it difficult because my person was more of a couple, so I'm kind of maybe I'm doing it too much or thinking too
Well, let me tell you from experience
complicated.
when it comes to the couple. Mama makes the decisions. Take him out the picture because he's got no say-so in the equation whatsoever. He might have a little say-so,
Okay.
but I can tell you my experience. So I don't know if you know this. So my background, I used to be the vice president of sales and marketing for a home builder.
Okay.
I used to train all the agents to sell homes. And so I've been involved with hundreds, if not thousands, of real estate transactions. Statistically speaking, based on my experience, when it's a couple, I have not yet met the dude that gets the final say-so on the house.
I'm with you.
Is that a fair statement?
Okay.
So take him out the picture. Who cares?
You can even start even further down the road than that. You can go look at a mallard duck. The male's all pretty and he's strutting his stuff. Who chooses the female?
Yep.
Every time. It's part of nature.
Okay.
So let's give her, so if you've got a couple, we want to go back and let's give her a name. She can be married, so married Mary.
I'm gonna
That's
call
fine.
her wants to Wanda.
Okay, wants to Wanda. That works too. There we go. Would anyone disagree with that? Dr. McGee, you're a sales trainer. So I know that you have lots more experience in this because it may be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that you trained over the year. Would you say that's a fair statement? Mama makes the decisions when it comes to that?
And what financially drives men and women to make their decisions are completely different in that chart there gives you the reasons too.
Yep.
Women want things for the safety and security, future drivers. Men want power, control, authority, and every guy thinks they're invincible, they can lose their ass and think they can make the money back tomorrow.
Yep.
Women aren't going to hedge that bet.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely, absolutely. So these problems lead to what emotions? Where out of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Do you need a few more minutes to process yours? You're good.
I'm good. Thank you.
So here's the next thing, and we go to box number 9. What's the action belief? Action belief, gain. What do they hope to achieve? What they define as success? If they're looking to solve this problem, what's their action belief? What do they think would happen if things work out the way they're planning? So if everything works out well, what's in their mind? What are they dreaming of? What are they thinking when they're visualizing this problem being solved? What do they believe is going to happen in their life? Number 10 is inaction belief. What do they believe is going to happen if they continue a status quo? If they don't get this resolved, if they don't get this problem or this issue resolved, what's their inaction belief? And if you have any questions on this, please, this is an open forum. Say, hey, Stormy, whoa, wait a second here. What do you mean by that? The reason I'm saying that is because right now Richard's looking at me like I'm a little crazy. So I don't know if you have a... And just remember, this is their belief.
I think that's just what Richard looks like.
A very large amount of money.
Okay.
And we meet with them every month
Okay.
with legal counsel and CPAs, and I'm wondering, you can never spend $40 million in the next 20 years.
All right.
It ain't gonna happen. So what is it that they're worried about? Because seriously,
So let's say that...
I'm looking at it going, what the hell are you worried about?
Are they concerned about generational wealth? Are they concerned about...
That's all taken care of.
yeah.
All of that stuff.
So guess what it could be?
Why do we have that?
Because guess what?
No, you might be right.
Absolutely. I've got 40 million, but guess what? Bob down the street's got 50 million. Some bitch. I'm a little pissed off at him. He's got me beat. It's what drives a lot of billionaires. Hey, I got $1 billion. How am I going to do something with it? The drive is to get 2. That guy with 2, or that guy or gal with $2 billion, the drive is to get 5. Is that here? No. Here? No. Here? No. We're talking about esteem.
Might be love and belonging with the family.
Yeah.
Because it gets fractured.
It gets fractured out. Yeah, that's where it's at.
Okay, thanks.
Fair enough? So let me ask you a question, because I'm seeing, so what's their action belief? What do they believe that they're going to happen because it's important that we get through these. I don't want any open blanks. We're not skipping any of these. There is going to be one area we're going to skip, kinda, but it's important that we fill out each and every one of these boxes. What's their action belief? In their mind, not your mind, who cares about you? In their mind, what do they believe? If I take action, what's going to happen? Inaction. If I don't take action, what's going to happen? What's their belief? Learn a little bit about about your clients so far?
Yeah, I am doing better.
Changes the way we think about it, doesn't it?
It's much better than what I came up with on my own yesterday.
See, so there you go. So now what happens is there's typically a triggering event. There's always triggering events that happen in our lives before we make decision for each and every one of us in here. When someone decides to go with us for marketing, there's a triggering event. When someone decides to buy a house, there's a triggering event. And guess what? Oftentimes that triggering event may have happened a year before they actually pull the trigger. Dr. McGee, before someone looks for sales training or executive, executive mentorship training, they just didn't wake up today and have the first thought and say, oh, I got to reach out and get this taken care of. No, there was a triggering event. Same thing, for each and every one of us. So for us, you know what, I didn't even fill out mine here. So trials and tribulations for Wile E. Coyote, these are physiological needs, right? It's hunger. He needs to eat. We're at the bottom of the rung. He believes that action belief, if he's successful, gets a delicious Roadrunner meal. Inaction belief, he's going to starve. So if he doesn't take action and gets his resolve, he's going to starve. If he is successful, he believes he's going to get a delicious Roadrunner meal. Is that fair enough? Can you guys relate to this with Wile E. Coyote? I mean, think about this. We're building a psychological profile of a cartoon character. How crazy is that? What's that? Oh, thank you. So, triggering events. We got to figure out what they are. Why did they start looking for a solution in the first place? I'll give you the example of Wile E. Coyote, right? Why did Wile E. Coyote start looking? What was his triggering event? Lack of other prey. Have you seen the cartoon? Did you ever see any other prey in the background? I haven't. That desert has been desolate. Other action belief. Hunger. He's hungry. Other action belief. Roadrunners outsmarted him again. What's the triggering event? So for instance, in real estate, I can think of someone, a couple finds out, hey, we're pregnant. We're having a baby. Our 2-bedroom condo isn't cutting it. We're going to have to sell it to get a 3-bedroom because we know that mother-in-law is going to be moving in with us. We need the extra room, whatever the real world scenarios are. That's a triggering event. They don't have to make the action today, but it's a triggering event. Which triggering event was my last financial planner. I don't think he was straight with me. He said that I should do this. I wanted to do that. I listened to him and this didn't happen. You know the emotions that people shared with you. Why did they start looking for a solution? I didn't make as much money as I thought. I lost money. Dr. McGee, sales are down. That was a triggering event. I just looked at the numbers. I'm like, oh, I got to report to the board. I better get this resolved because I'm not going to report to the board 2 or 3 quarters in a row where it looks like it's heading in this trend. Ryan, the lawyer's like, oh man, I'm not getting enough leads coming in through the door to keep my calendar, booked. I didn't make payroll. There's a million reasons. What's the triggering event? I want you to come up with 3 of them here.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Because as we talked before, I'm kind of a Spock thinker. So
Okay.
What's a triggering event in my mind? So in my mind, people are hearing all the time that it's a seller's market, and that might prompt them to think to sell their home, to look for something else.
Okay.
Is that something that could be considered? I know other triggering events. I have the mother-in-law move in, family member, raise at work, but
Yeah, so it's, oftentimes what happens is Bob and Sally just bought this new home.
keeping up with the Joneses.
That's a very, very powerful triggering event. A friend or family you would not believe how often that happens. And that's not all of them, but Bob and Sally got a new one, and now my house, which I've been perfectly happy with all this time, for some reason, that kitchen's never been satisfactory. And this shower, can you believe that I've got to take a shower in this compared to their walk-in shower that they just showed me? That's a very, very powerful motivator.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one actually.
Because now, that could be one of those things. It could be esteemed is normally where you think, but it could also be this love and belonging because guess what? I want to keep up with my tribe. I got to be like my tribe. Same reason we buy cars. Think about a car. I mean, a car gets from point A to point B, right? That's really what it does. But yet I can buy a brand new car for what, $15,000, $20,000? I can buy a brand new car for $100,000. They both get me from point A to point B, right? But guess what? I could be buying the $100,000 car for safety, but all I did was psych myself out that it's safety. That's all that is. I've convinced myself that this is safety. It becomes this tribe issue or esteem. You know what I mean? It becomes one of those two. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect.
So does that help you?
know,
Yeah.
in your business, I happen to be looking on LinkedIn, and I ran into some guy, and I clicked on his profile, and then he interested me, so I went to his website. So what I saw is this beautiful home. It must be probably $5 million, but it wasn't the number that impressed me. It was the view that I could walk in that house on that website. So it didn't have a thing to do with me wanting a new house. It didn't have a thing to do with mama or anybody else. It was just like, God, that's a grand looking home. You get that for free.
Thank you.
There you go.
It all comes down to the buyer, though, the buyer persona. So every buyer persona is going to have a different triggering event. So like, you know, like a new couple, their triggering event might be having a baby, they need to upsize. Or, you know, a young professional like me, for example, would be, I just got a new job, I have a much larger income than I did before, and I want to upgrade everything else in my life too.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to the buyer persona. Who that buyer persona is will dictate their triggering event.
Okay. There's gonna be like 50 buyers.
No, and you're going to have multiples, but we concentrate on one at a time.
Yeah.
We're just going to concentrate on one at a time. We concentrate on all of them, it becomes a cluttered mess. So let's continue down here because we've got more. So here's the question. What is that buyer persona? Here's the noise in the marketplace. Remember the static that I talked about earlier? We're going to talk about the static for a second. What are they seeing in the marketplace as it relates to your goods and services? Hey, they're seeing billboards, TV commercials. They're seeing email marketing. Wile E. Coyote, for instance, he's seeing magazine ads, do-it-yourself weapons and traps, and rocket launcher websites. But in your printing, what are they seeing? What are they seeing as it pertains to your goods and services? This is really, really important. And the cool thing is, before you leave this weekend, I'm going to give you color versions of these that you can take with you so you can build out more buyer personas. This way you can follow the process. So what are they seeing? The next thing is, and this one's really, really important, what are they being told? What are they hearing? Now, why is this important? Because who's telling them? What? No, they're being told.
Oh, from people?
Competition, friends, family, people that they trust. Oftentimes, what are they hearing? Oftentimes comes from people that they trust a heck of a lot more than you. Now, I'm not saying the person knows more than you, but they trust them a heck of a lot more than you. So what are they being told? So Wile E. Coyote is told by the other coyotes, hey, coyotes need to be smarter. Roadrunners are too fast. What are they being told by the mother-in-law? What are they being told by their peers, the people that they work with? What are they being told by the other people that are having, financial success or financial failures? What are they being told by other attorneys and family members? We need to know, what are they being told? We got to understand that. Does that make sense there? Because I know you've had it in the real estate industry. Well, we're in a bubble. Absolutely. They tell you we're in a bubble. It's a seller's market. It's what are they being told? You got to understand that. The next thing is, what are they doing? What are they doing? Meaning that Wile E. Coyote, he's searching for online products, creating a 300-pound mousetrap for the Roadrunner. What are they doing? Are they searching on Google? Maybe, maybe not. And I'll tell you why this is important. We've had people approach us in terms of marketing, and we'll start going down this process, and we find out that they're not doing anything online. So why invest money, energy, and effort of doing some online marketing if there's no one online looking for that solution? Does that make sense there? So in yours, they're going to Zillow. They're looking at, money.com. Who knows what people are doing, but it's like, what are they doing? They're searching for resources online. We got to understand this, or not. Has everyone got that so far? Okay, next, trust using empathy. Why should they trust you? Why should they trust you? So Acme Corporation, they're saying we help cartoon characters, including coyotes, achieve their performance goals with unmatched technology. That's a little bit long, you know, it's a little bit longer, but why should I trust you? So real quick, Sean, why should I trust you? I need to buy a house. Why should I trust you?
Boy, it is a complicated question. I mean, you think, oh, well, I'm native, I've been here my whole life, but I say these things out loud and I say, so what?
Yep, exactly. So what? Why should I trust you?
Yeah, I mean, I care, I get the job done, but
Yeah.
I
So
have
what?
to think about that.
Absolutely.
As to why someone should trust me, because
See the
that's
problem?
a very good question.
So if you don't know why they should trust you,
I know.
think that's a problem?
I know that is
See, that's a problem? Absolutely. That's a huge problem. We got to identify why should I trust you? Quickly. And guess what? I don't have an hour for you to tell me why I should trust you.
Right.
I got about 7 seconds.
7 seconds. Oh, you really want me to tell you right now?
No, because it doesn't sound like we
I
have it
know.
in 7 seconds, but I just wanted to run it by you.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, let's put something down there. Let's take one of your ones. And we remember, you have the ability of working on this. And here's the problem. Here's what I don't want you to do. You take this and you're like, this is what I got, and this I'm going to run with. This is designed to be a tool. Think of it as a treadmill. If you go buy a brand new treadmill and you start running on it today, and you use it once, probably didn't serve you much purpose. You got to go back and do it over and over and over again. This is a very, very important person. Why should I trust you? In 7 seconds, why should I trust you? What is your right-on statement?
So something like we're accredited with the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, so
Is
what?
That's a so what, really?
Yeah, it costs for $300. I can go get accredited with the Better Business Bureau tomorrow. Okay, so you paid for an accreditation.
Okay. All right.
But it's about you.
Easy.
It's emotion. Yeah, so what?
Okay.
So for the sake of this, let's take it. And it's not something. It's about you. You know what I mean? Is there something that happened in your life that you think makes you an exceptional realtor? You know, I've had, for instance, I had an attorney in here in our last grouping. She's an injury attorney. Her scenario was she was gravely injured at one point in her life. She shows the x-rays of what happened to her. And it's like, you know, when people come in and they have injuries, think about that for a second. I've got an attorney that really understands what I've gone through. You get it. You get what's happened to me. As a matter of fact, my gosh, I feel like I'm almost, you know, inadequate. You see, because here's what someone's looking for. And I'm gonna digress a little bit. Every one of your clients, in this thing that we call the world that we're in, this thing we call life, they see themselves as a hero within their own life, right? Guess what? We all see ourselves as heroes. We're the main character within our story. So when I say the hero, we're the main character in our story, right? Your story has been running since the day you were born. We're the hero. So here's the issue. People aren't looking for other heroes. Because if I come across another hero, I'm like, oh, look, Richard, he's another hero. He's a great guy. But man, that's awesome. More power to you, right on. And I'm going to continue with my business. I'm happy for you. It's great, but you're another hero. But let me tell you where people will find value. They'll find value in a guide. They'll certainly find value in a guide, someone that can help them along their journey of becoming a better hero in their story. Does that make sense? Oftentimes when it comes to messaging, people are looking to position themselves as the hero. I'm the hero. I'm here to save the day. I'm the hero. I'm the hero. I'm the hero. And it doesn't connect. You need to be the guide. Does that make sense there? How do you become the guide? That's when we start getting this trust. Why should I trust you? Have you seen Star Wars? Have you seen, you know, I'm an ex Harry Potter?
Yes. So Harry Potter's his hero, the hero. He goes along, but Dumbledore comes and
He's the guy.
guide you to defeating Voldemort, right? So
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's all about positioning yourself as the guide. Does that make sense, sir? So what do you have that would help me want you to be my guide when it comes on this journey of buying a home?
So
how are
if I
you
said,
Dumbledore?
so if I said something like I'm a Las Vegas native and I know all parts of the valley well, I've seen the city develop and I know the areas of town,
That's a great start.
much better.
We're going to hit, but that's much better.
Okay.
It's one of those things that, hey, I'm a Las Vegas, you know, I'm not some Johnny come lately, which, you know what I mean? You know, you do this full time, but think about in those terms. So let's use that for right now,
Okay.
because I want to make sure we get through the other
Sorry, I
things.
didn't mean to
No.
digress. I was having trouble.
You weren't digressing. We were diving into it. And what your questions helped everyone else in the room.
I hope so.
And
So-
when you revisit that later, think about why you do what you do. Find your
Okay.
why, and then that will help you dig even deeper. Then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, what emotions on Maslow's hierarchy of needs does this satisfy? What you just shared with me, Shauna's, probably helps me with my safety. You know what I mean? The fact that you're a Las Vegas native, hey, it's a safety decision. Does that make sense there?
Yeah.
So
Maybe
why
love
should the,
and belonging.
what's that?
Love and belonging.
No, not really. I don't think on that one.
There's not very many of us, and I say us because I'm a Las Vegas native.
Yeah,
There's not very many. Most people come here as their transplant.
but they're not concerned about love and belonging with her. They're concerned about love and belonging with their tribe.
Gotcha.
She's not in their tribe. Make sense?
Unless they're a native too.
Unless they're a native.
In each other's tribe right now.
Yeah, you're just in the other tribe. So yeah, it could be. But if we get safety, that's a stronger emotion.
Huge, and I think as a realtor, I'd add the word honesty. There's 16,000 of municipalities, probably 10% trying to make a living at 1,600. Probably 10% of them 160 are actually making bank on it. I think most realtors have a very bad public persona, and so I think if you use the word honesty in there, I was born and raised in a valley, and I can honestly steer you towards the right location. The right
Look at that, I'm like, well, yeah, you should be honest. I think they expect you to be honest. No? That's not a so what statement?
No. Oh no, no, God, no. People are just trying to make a sale. I think what your leverage is letting them know that I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this to help you because if I do you right, you're going to give me referrals. And I would estimate, not knowing, because what statistics are made up anyway, so I'd say probably 80+% of everyone who buys a house in the city is pissed off within 30 days of buying it because then they realize they bought it in the wrong neighborhood. Was the realtor honest with them? No, that's why they're pissed off.
Yeah.
So I think shoving it down someone's throat is going to help you make more sales. You're coming to the city and you have kids, where do you want to live? Well, you're going to know the valley, you're going to know the school district, you're going to know the trends, you're going to know all the things that are very politically incorrect to say, is what I want a realtor to tell me. I bought a condo in one of those expensive towers in the city. The first day I went outside to run it. Outside the gate, the guard shack said, which way are you going, Dr. McGee? I said, left. They go, no, don't run that direction. Go the other direction. It's much safer. It's like, okay, well, I wish Berkshire Hathaway had told me that when I bought my place from. Okay, you're one of the top 4 places in the city. So no, I think honesty is one of your power words to use because it goes to, I think, the bottom 2 levels. Well, actually, we'll go to all 5 of them, especially the bottom 2.
But prove it.
There you go.
So anyone can say it,
Right.
You can prove it.
So I like
Right.
being that guide. You're there to be their guide, their Sherpa. I think that's awesome.
There you go.
Okay, great.
So we're going to do, what emotions does your statement lead to? I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit
Okay.
because there's some other exercises we want to get through. So what emotion? Ours for Wile E. Coyote, we help cartoon characters as a safety need. So just choose one emotion. What does it tie into? The next one is, what gives you the authority to be that solution provider? What gives you the right? What gives you the authority? If we use Dumbledore, his authority is, man, he's got a pretty badass track record, wouldn't you say?
He's like 200 years old.
He's like 200 years old. So what gives you the authority? Let's throw some authority in there. This could be, for the sake of this, it could be, some special credentials you have, something that you have to earn, not pay for. You know what I mean? So what gives you the authority? I've helped 300 families just like yours over the last 2 years. I've helped people turn, and I know you can't mention numbers, but 500 people, there are 500 of your neighbors look to me for their financial advice. Real quick, what gives you the authority? And then once you answer what gives you the authority, what emotion is that tied to on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So for instance, Acme Corporation, they have 101 trusted products, #1 in weapons industry for cartoon characters, in case you didn't know. That also addresses the safety needs. Wile E. Coyote wants to make the right decision. You with me? What gives you the right?
How about gray hair and CPA? Does that all fit together?
Gray hair and CPA. I grow gray hair for you. That could be kind of catchy. Let me go gray instead of you. You know what I mean? Meaning that,
Look at all the people.
look at this. Say, this patch belongs to the Joneses. Here's a... So what gives you the authority? The next one here I'm going to spend a few moments on. You're going to need to develop this. I can spend the entire time we're spending today on this next topic alone. It's important. If you want more information on this one here to build it, I'm going to recommend that you go watch Simon Sinek's video, Why? It's an 18-minute video. It's going to help you develop this. But we're going to jump into it. So, see this pyramid on the bottom of your page? A equals B. What do you think that means? Well, I'm going to share it with you. If you're in an A equals B scenario, you're a commodity, meaning that if they see you as no different than your competitor, you're a commodity. So what is going to be my driving factor for making a decision? Price. Who wants to be in that? Right? Absolutely. So a better place to be would be A is greater than B. So if they see you as being greater than B, well, now you're in this situation where they do perceive you as being a better value. And guess what? This exercise that we're doing today, just from what we've done so far, if you just start changing your message and your communication, this is all about taking you from A equals B to A is greater than B. Fair enough? But a better position to be in is TINB, baby. What do you think that stands for?
I did a cheat course yesterday, so I know that.
You know
I
it?
didn't know it until yesterday, so I can't say.
Someone told you about it yet? Oh, because you went through our training online. I was going to say, we came up with this. Who stole our TINB? I was a little upset there. TINB, there is no B. When it comes to your goods and services, how do you set them up to where there is no B? And let me tell you something. What makes you a secret weapon? What's your unique value proposition? What makes you different? For this exercise, we can put something very superficial in there, but what makes you different if you don't know? But this is something that we can spend hours upon hours. We think we have it right. We can come back to it and spend hours upon hours. We think we have it right, spend hours upon hours. It's what makes you different. What is going to get your tribe? What is going to get this person to want to do business with you? But for the sake of this, let's write down what sets you apart than anyone else in your industry. Remember, this isn't credentials. This is why did you get in this to the first place? You don't say, hey, I do real estate because I wanted to make $200,000 a year and buy myself a Bentley and get a nice house in this community. No, you didn't do it for that. Why did you get into doing what you do? What is your passion? What's driving you? Why you? And that's important because if you can get the why you, some people are going to connect with it. If it's superficial, who cares? Let me just here's Acme. Theirs, and this is a little bit more because, it's a cartoon character. We don't know their emotional thing, but easy to read instructions that even animals can understand. Cutting edge R&D division to produce military grade products. Only technology company that caters to the unique needs of cartoons, right? So once again, what emotion does that lead to? Your why, what emotion does it lead to? Once again, safety. See, in this scenario, we're all about Wile E. Coyote. He wants a safe decision. You follow me?
Yeah. Is there a way, I have a quick question. Let's say you meet someone, and I actually just had someone tell me this yesterday. I'm just going to go with whichever realtor shows me the house I want to buy. So in their mind, clearly, all realtors are the same.
Yep.
They add no value whatsoever.
Yep.
And is there any way, upon meeting someone in the buying stage, to go from A equals B to A is greater than B? Because you have to have their permission to do that almost. Like, you can't just start spewing facts and information and calling them a dumbass.
Right.
Go over well.
So I'm going to take my stab at it.
Okay.
And because, I do have sales experience. Now, we happen to have, next to you, I hope I don't put you on the spot. I hope you don't mind this, but you have actually one of the top sales trainers in the nation, recognized sales trainers in the nation sitting next to you.
Oh.
So I'm going to and he does some training here in Las Vegas on sales training, which is incredible, but recognize, not just me saying, but look him up online, kind of a big deal. But let me just take my stab at it if that's okay.
Yes.
It's all realtors are the same for good reason. None have connected with him. You know what I mean? It's the realtors that he has come in contact with. There is no difference. They're all A equals B. At that stage, if it were me, I would do my best to get into rapport. Why does he feel that way? And then find out what his emotions, his triggers, and connect with him on an emotional level. Because if I'm connected with that person emotionally, I've elevated myself. I'm going to get there by listening to his concerns. I'm not going to be out there and just spewing, well, you know what, I'm rated with the Better Business Bureau and I've been doing this. No, I want to find out more about them. So this way they see me as a different scenario. Now, can I take them to that TINB right there off the spot? No, but give me enough time? Possibly. If I can become a resource and he feels that I'm in this, and that's why that TINB comes in. Why are you doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
And people can't communicate that because here's the cool part. I guarantee you 99.999999372% of the realtors, even though I just made up those numbers, have never done an exercise like this. They just haven't done it.
Yeah.
So if you've done it, you can articulate what sets you apart. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Okay, so there you go.
Keep in mind also that we're doing this exercise to also position ourselves online so that you're actually building rapport with them through your website, becoming a resource before you're ever interacting with them one-on-one. So hopefully you're prepping them better once you get to that actual interaction.
Our goal is to make that digital employee an extension of you. What would you do if you were that digital employee? Not
Well, a
just
lot of
someone
times to even direct them, because a lot of times you meet people organically in real estate. Like they don't find you. You know, you meet at an open house, or you meet just
Sure.
a Zillow lead or whatever, and they don't have that opportunity. So to kind of build that credibility and direct them there, so you even build even more credibility. I think
Correct, when they get there and they
Yeah.
resonate. And if you're resonating, you know, Google measures all this stuff, which we'll get into later. If they're resonating, Google's going to figure that out. You're going to start finding yourself showing up more.
Okay.
You know, they land on your website. Oh, there's a whole bunch more facts and figures. There's another hero. I'm out. Who cares?
Yeah.
You follow me? So
Yeah.
from there, we want to figure out why hire you. You know, what's your positioning statement? You know, here's something. I'm just going to do this really quick. This is just a quick exercise. This isn't your book. I'm digressing just a little bit. So here's one of the things we look at. Many sellers are targeting the same customers, right? Then what happens is there's more competition. So are you a follower, a challenger, or a leader? You know, when you're in this particular type of scenario, you have this scenario to where you're playing that commodity game, your profit diminishes over time. If we're in this scenario finding a market gap, which is kind of what we're doing by building a buyer persona, we find out who our ideal client is. Well, now what happens, and as we develop our unique selling proposition, what sets us apart, we end up with this model to where over time we have greater profitability and less competition. Does that make sense there? So, positioning, that TINB I just talked about. A equals B, it's all about price. You remember, I'm just diving into a little bit further in the bottom of your page. A equals better B, we're balancing price and value. TINB, it's all about value. Does that make sense? That's what we're looking at. Oh, you mean, there we go.
You can point out too.
With what, this? Oh, so this right here. Hey! So that's what it's about. So with A equals B, no leverage, no power. A greater than B, you have leverage, you have limited power. TINB, it's all about value. There is no B. That's where you want to be. And that's what it's about. So let's go to the next page. So, AC/DC.
It's the band.
It's a band. What are they doing now? But in ours, we call this, that stands for awareness, consideration, decision, and common questions. See?
Electrical industry.
Yeah, and the electric, exactly. So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about our Wile E. Coyote, and let me show you what we're going to do there. In the awareness stage, so remember, we had this triggering event. Now I'm entering this awareness stage. We already talked about it. This is someone who's doing research. What do you think they might be asking for online? I can tell you in the awareness stage, they're not searching for a financial planner located in Las Vegas. They're not searching for a sales trainer. They're looking for a solution to the problem. So Wile E. Coyote, when he's in the awareness stage, he might be on Google typing in, let me just go back, how to catch a roadrunner. You see what I'm saying there? What would be a question? Just one question that someone might be asking in the awareness stage. And there's a million questions. But if someone's in the awareness stage, what type of question might be they asking? And then what happens is, if for Acme Corporation, if he's asking how to catch a roadrunner, their response might be, hey, we got this download called The Best Way to Exploit Roadrunners' Weaknesses. So let's think about that. If someone's online looking for, like, what somebody want to volunteer? Awareness stage question? Anybody? What do you?
More clients.
What? How to get more clients, right? For lawyers. So would your answer be, hey, I got this book. How to get more clients? You know, how the 10 best ways attorneys can get more clients. Do you think that would be compelling for an attorney? 11 best ways?
12.
Okay, 12, 13 best ways. So what would your response be if you had an offer that would be beneficial to that person? So you said how to get more clients, your persona is a lawyer. If you had a download offer on your website that says the 13 best ways attorneys can get more clients in 48 hours, do you think that would be powerful?
Yes.
By all means, write that down. There's your response. So what would your call to action be on your website? Maybe I got a download offer. Are you trying to sell them with that?
From
No.
my website, I just want to engage in the conversation. I don't want to sell them from my website.
That's absolutely correct. So in something like this, are they trying to sell Wile E. Coyote? No, we're just trying to help them along the process. So what kind of download offer could you have for someone who's asking that specific question? So when I land on your website and I want to hang out with my tribe, you know what I mean? Or what was your question they're asking?
Well, the first one I wrote down is one-story homes in Las Vegas.
Okay, that's cool.
People.
No, there we go. One-story homes in Las Vegas. Stick with it.
Okay.
Because they might be, they're searching for one-story homes in Las Vegas. So guess what? 10 things you must consider before buying a ranch-style home.
Oh. Very good.
20 things you didn't think of
Yeah. Okay.
when going to a ranch style. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have a download offer indirect. So now that's someone in the awareness stage.
Let's see you word this. My mother lost 2 Prince Charmings. The last one, she ended up with some money and her dream home in the Cove. And she listened to the wrong advisor.
Okay.
And she lost it all. And that is what drives me.
So,
Now, how are you going to get those words so they're positive or draws people and doesn't scare them?
well, on that scenario, I might do, 12 horror stories of listening to the wrong advice.
Work your entire life to get it and lose it.
Yeah.
'Cause
You know-
there's a lot of people in that scenario.
And here's the scenario.
Work your entire life to get it and then lose it.
And don't be concerned about it.
And it's
Welcome.
not necessary.
Chris, how are you? Please have a seat. We've been waiting for you.
Is this my seat?
That's your seat.
All right.
Welcome. So you can kind of sit here. We're actually on page 23. You'll be a little,
I'll catch up.
you'll catch up. So we'll go through theirs. So it could be, 23. And remember, a greater motivator, the fear of loss is a much more powerful motivator than the possibility of gain. Much more powerful motivator. Meaning, if I told you right now, hey, Richard, my car outside, I stuck a $20 bill on top of my tire. If you go get it, it's yours, right? You're like, okay, well, as soon as there's training in the break, maybe I'll go check it out and see if it's there. Maybe. On the other hand, if you had $20 sitting here on the table and I grabbed it and ran out the door, you're chasing me down. That son of a bitch sold my $20.
Well, maybe not for 20, but for 100.
Okay, for 100, you got it. But so it's the motivator. So now, you know what I mean? So you can go there. It's just something. So if I'm someone who's concerned about that, if I come across 12 horror stories of how people, there was another financial advisor that we had in the training, and she has she always talks about some of the famous musicians that have lost their money, that have made some bad advice that people can relate to. Pretty powerful. Next thing is consideration stage. What are they asking? I'm in the consideration stage. So now they've determined the problem requires a solution. They're now committed to researching available options, products, and services to solve it. Wile E. Coyote in the consideration stage. Maybe he's saying, there's so many choices out there, how do I decide, all right? So maybe our response would be, attend a live webinar or training event. Maybe that's it. Not trying to sell them anything. What could you do when someone's in that consideration stage? Meaning, guess what? You're one of the solutions. I've already found you, but I'm in this research stage. But guess what's also a solution? Not only the realtors, but Zillow's a solution. What are those home buying services are a solution? I forget some of the names right now. OfferPad. Maybe solution is, because I'm selling my condo, if that was the case. Selling it myself's a solution. So maybe in the consideration stage, it could be, hey, listen, I'm not doing the webinars, I'm not doing the live events, but I got this download offer that, 14, OfferPad realtor. Why choose one over the other?
I actually have that blog post.
Oh, there we go. You can turn that to a download guide. Boom, it's there. You've got the blog post already. Would that help someone who's thinking about OfferPad versus the other? You're giving them pros and cons.
Someone to read it.
There you go.
Besides me.
So we kind of turn that, you have your blog post and you have an extended version, you have this download offer, they give you their email address and you can talk to them later on, and now you've become a resource. You become a resource, so there you go. So maybe a call to action with this, here's take action, indirect, I'm getting the email, I can communicate. Because remember, I already said it's rude not to have information for the people in the awareness and consideration stage. But if I spend $1 to get them to my website, and 96% of the people fall in that category, why in the world am I just going to blow them off because they're not on my schedule? It's crazy, but that's what we do. So let's have a download offer. Give me your name and email address, and I'm going to nurture you through the sale because you already let the cat out the bag. You already said you have some kind of email marketing and platform. Let's use it for what it's made for. Does that make sense? And we'll dive into that later. So decision stage. Now I got a well-defined problem, clear direction. Your leads are choosing the best solution provider. Let's go to Acme Corporation. Decision stage. Will this really work? Maybe our response is a free demo. So I got a call to action, sign up direct. I'm in the decision stage. I'm ready to pull trigger. Dr. McGee, this is the stage where it's like, talk to me for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm in the decision stage. I'm ready to pull a trigger. I'm ready to do something. Obviously, I'm not making the decision. This is the stage as they've gone through their journey. They're ready to pull the trigger. What can we do there? Are you following me there? And remember, this isn't decision stage for any of you in here where you're trying to get someone to make the decision on the internet. This is usually the stage where you want them to take the next action to contact you to speak with you, but we have to have messaging for the person here. We got to have messaging for the person here. We got to have messaging for the person here. Here's the cool part. The cool part. Look at your competitors. 99, the vast majority of them, they've only got messaging here. If we do a really good job here, we're getting to them before the competition even know they existed. Remember I brought that up claim earlier? Because your competitors aren't doing it. You also have to know what are some of the common concerns. So Wile E. Coyote, some of his common concerns, he's concerned about safety. He's concerned about easy assembly. He's concerned about effectiveness. You know what I mean? That's what Wile E. And a whole bunch of other things. What are some of the common concerns that people are concerned with when it comes to making a decision with you?
And just to speak on the buyer's journey again, just revisiting it, the awareness stage is going to be addressing their problem. The consideration stage is going to be when they're comparing their solutions, and the decision stage is going to be your direct sort of call to action, like what you want them to do next.
So now, conclusion. We're getting back to these emotions, people. Conclusion. See what I got up here? What does it say? What does that say? Anybody want to read it to me? What's that fourth word? Say it a little bit louder.
Feel.
Correct. What do they feel like? What does winning feel like? Wile E. Coyote. He's actually full for once in his life, right? Best meal ever. Confidence as a predator and energized. What do they feel like if they win? See this emphasis on emotions?
Peaceful, calm.
Peaceful, calm, absolutely. Put them down there. What do they feel like if they win? Now, on the other hand, if it doesn't work as planned, what do they feel like if they lose? Okay, Wile E. Coyote, he's got continued hunger. He's still feeling that stomach pain. He's feeling fatigue, low self-esteem. So what do they feel like if they lose? It's all about emotion. Now, what is this? What does that look like? A letter, right? What do we do with letters? We spit on them? We throw them away? No, what do we do if we have a letter that we have to do something? We put a stamp on it. What do? We mail it. We stick them in a post office and they go places, right? So here's what I want you to think of. If your message is ready, is your message ready to be delivered? Is it ready to be delivered? Their emotions will move from what to what. So Wile E. Coyote, if our letter is ready to be delivered, we're going to take him from a hungry coyote to a rock star predator. So for your person, your persona, if your message is ready to be delivered, we're going to take them from what to what? It's all about the cap. That's why I put a cap on there. I just stopped using bottles, baby bottles. So now once you have that, now we have a message that we can deliver in person, but we can deliver that message to our website, through our emails, through our social media, through our print material, through our advertising, on our business cards. We send that message everywhere. Does that make sense there? That's what we do. So around the room, let's share. Shauna, you take people from what to what?
A frazzled living environment to basically their happy place.
Okay. Dr. McGee, you take them from what to what?
Limited human growth potential to abundance.
Awesome. Ryan, where do you take them?
Still thinking.
I'm sorry?
Still thinking.
Okay, so you take these lawyers, and I don't know the rest of your things. I'm just going to throw some ideas out there. Are you taking them from because remember, esteem's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So you can even use Rockstar. I mean, they want to be, a lot of lawyers is that esteem and all that other stuff. So maybe you're taking them from potentially a struggling attorney to the recognized leader. Maybe you're taking them to rockstar status in their field from, someone who is barely getting things done. You're taking them from,
No name to a name.
there you go, no name to a big name. There you go. So now we're going to do the next exercise. This is where it gets fun, okay? Flip the page. We're going to do some transferring, okay? So if you look at this sheet here, I've got numbers. Inside that box there, what's the number?
1.
Inside the next box, what's the number? Flip back to your previous page that you just worked on. Inside that first box, what's the number?
1.
Second box? 2. So here's what I want you to do. Whatever's in your box 1, let's write it in box 1 here. Whatever's in box 2, let's box 2 here. Now, the only ones that don't have numbers is when you get to he and she, you can just write he or she. Does that make sense there? This is a very, very important part of the exercise. So just start transferring them over. Right. So I'm going to talk about a few things before we get a chance to share. As we continue in your worksheet, we're not going to do this now, but I have some other worksheets in there to share with you. So remember how we went over awareness? And this exercise here, when I back up to this exercise, remember you filled out what are they asking in the awareness stage? What were they asking in the consideration stage? What were they asking in the decision stage? I can assure you they're asking more than one question. So inside your workbook, I have these. Give me 1 second. I've got these worksheets. So inside the worksheets, here's your buyer has begun experiencing problem. So inside your worksheet, you can write out more questions that they may be asking. You see, as you continue down this exercise, and this is something you don't have to do now. This is designed to help you stretch the way you're processing information, because what I would recommend doing before you do your next buyer's persona is start filling out some of those awareness, some of those consideration, some of the decision stage questions. When people ask you, when they have a concern or an objection, however you look at that particular scenario, make sure you come back and write it in this worksheet if that's something that people are asking over and over and over again. Because oftentimes it's the same 20 questions that people are asking. And you don't realize what the questions are until the next person asks you. You're like, oh, yeah, and people are asking it. You want to start marking those things down. Does that make sense there? That's what those worksheets are for as we continue. So, does that make sense? So I've got a worksheet in there for your awareness stage. I've got a worksheet in there for your consideration stage. I've got a worksheet in there for your decision stage and common objections. Does that make sense? Use these worksheets. They will help you, but we want to. So we've had people, when we did this event just last time, I had someone pull me aside and they're like, Stormy, you know what? Just this exercise and this exercise only was worth more than my investment. Just this exercise. And we still got 2 days of it. Are you kidding me? Because now what happens is any messaging you put out there, any messaging before you put out, because here's the problem. People say, hey, I got a problem. There's this cycle of business owners that they replace their website every 3 years because they say the website's not working. They can knock that nonsense off if they go through this exercise. The website's not working is because they're doing things they've always done it. You need to compare your messaging on your website. How does it align to this persona or next persona or the other persona? Let's say you end up with 3 ideal personas, right? Imagine you land up on your website. And we talk about Wanda for just a moment, a move-up buyer, right? And we land on your website, and it's talking about your team here. And the first stage is, we're speaking specifically to her. Here, you'll move up Wanda, even though we're not calling that. Making more money, want a bigger house, click here. Now we've got something that's speaking to them. The other one, your next persona is you got first-time buyers. Here, you're a first-time buyer and wondering what to do next, click here. We send them on a different journey. And maybe another one here. Can you imagine if you just did that to your website?
Right.
Are you kidding me? How easy is that? And then we take them along their journey instead of buy now, whatever, we're speaking to them. But you can't do it without a persona.
Yeah.
You just can't do
And
it.
as I'm reading it even out loud, I was like,
I want to tweak it.
Specific. I need to get deeper in there, but that's just going to take more time.
Exactly. And this is just a guide. Remember, we made something so you can at least have something on paper to move forward with. See, everyone doesn't have an Amanda. Because Amanda would look at this, she's like, okay, we got to tweak it, and she can write this beautiful, story. That's what she does. But this is a heck of a lot better than having nothing. Does that make sense there? That's what this template is the value to do. So now anyone in your team, when you go back to your partner tomorrow and you're like, check this out. There's clarity between the both of you. You're on the same page. When you go to your employees, here's who we're going after. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is a step that, guess what? I would have guessed 90% of the people who call themselves marketers don't go through. They just take money and say, hey, let's do this tactic, that tactic, this tactic. This is the foundation. This is what leads to everything else that you do. It's clarity. And we just got some clarity.